Once upon a time, in the tranquil village of Kalani, surrounded by rolling hills and endless farmlands, the air was thick with expectation and doubt. Anna, the wife of Tali, had been pregnant for an unprecedented 700 days. The villagers whispered among themselves, debating whether this was a divine blessing or an ominous curse. Children would stop their play to stare as Anna walked past, her belly unnaturally extended. Despite the constant talk, Anna carried her burden with an otherworldly grace. She would often be found in the temple, her hands gently resting on her belly, her eyes closed in solemn prayer. T stood steadfastly by her side, his face etched with lines of worry, but his love for Anna unyielding. In the village was a midwife named Arara with years of experience. The rumor of Anna's 700 days pregnancy circulated the village, even reaching her place. 700 days, said Ilara, the village midwife, as she shared a pot of tea with her apprentice. In all my years, I've never seen anything like it. Something extraordinary is bound to happen, mark my words. Elders conferred with the king, Niran, who was equally bewildered by the mystery. His council of advisors was divided. Some advocated patience and faith, while others cautioned that Anna was possessed, and the abnormal pregnancy was a sign of impending doom. King Niran was in a state of quandary. On one hand, he had known Anna and Tali for years and found them to be honorable people. On the other hand, the unsettling nature of Anna's prolonged pregnancy posed a serious concern. It began to sow discord among the villagers, and the cries that echoed every night from unseen infants only fanned the flames of suspicion. Finally, the king summoned Anna and Tali to the palace. "I cannot ignore the signs any longer. If you do not birth what's in your belly within 60 days, I shall have no choice but to banish you both. The safety of the village must be my first concern." Anna nodded, her eyes misty but resolute. She knew that what she carried was no ordinary child, but how to convince a village steeped in tradition and bound by the natural laws they understood. As Anna and T stepped out of the palace, they knew that they were racing against time. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, another baby's cry was heard hauntingly, filling the air. Little did they know that their unborn child, still safely encased in Anna's womb, was anything but ordinary. Anna carried twins, a secret so extraordinary that it would challenge the fabric of their reality. And one of those twins, a child so mysterious and magical, was preparing to make an entrance that would change Kalani village forever. As the sun rose on a fateful day, its rays barely penetrating the overcast sky, Anna felt the first twinges of labor. Hope blossomed in her heart. Maybe this was the moment they had all been waiting for. T, his face filled with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety, prepared the cart to take Anna to Ilara's home, where the midwives were readying themselves for a birth unlike any other. The labor was agonizing and prolonged. The midwives, old and young, convened around Anna. Ritual chants filled the room, and traditional herbs were brewed into elixirs. But the baby remained defiantly unborn. Anna's screams filled the small chamber as each contraction seized her. But it seemed as though the heavens themselves were denying the child's passage into the world. Tali's hands gripped Anna's, his own face contorted in empathetic pain. Anna's mother, Maria, paced nervously around the room, her weathered hands clutching a prayer bead necklace. Days passed, 1, 2, 3, and still, Anna remained in labor. "Something must be done," Arara finally declared on the 4th day. "I've never seen a woman labor so long without birthing a child." Family members came and went, bringing food, water, and emotional support. Yet, as Anna entered the 7th day of her unimaginable ordeal, even the most hopeful among them began to lose faith. Arara approached Tali on that 7th day. "We've tried everything we know," she said, her eyes filled with unshed tears. "The child simply refuses to come out and Anna is growing weaker." Desperation seeped into Tal's soul. As he looked at his wife, her face pale but still radiant, her strength waning but her spirit unbroken, he leaned over to kiss her forehead, a simple act that carried all the love and promise of their shared life. And then, at that very moment, as the sun started its descent on the 7th day, something shifted. Anna let out a scream that was different from any before. It was a scream that seemed to cut through the fabric of time itself. Arara rushed to her side, eyes widening in disbelief and wonder. The first of the twins was ready to make an entrance. and it would be an entrance that Kanani village would never forget. As Anna's scream reverberated through the room, Arara sensed that the moment had come. With years of experience guiding her, she carefully positioned herself to assist in the birth. The room was filled with tension, every eye fixed on Anna. Tal held his wife's hand tightly, his knuckles white from the pressure. With one final guttural cry, Anna gave birth. Ilara lifted the baby, her hands trembling with emotion and awe. "It's a girl," she announced, her voice tinged with disbelief and wonder. They laid the newborn on Anna's chest, her tiny form wrapped in a simple linen cloth. Anna's eyes met her daughter's for the first time, and in that instant her exhaustion seemed to melt away, replaced by an overwhelming surge of love and relief. She had given birth to a child as beautiful as any they could have imagined, with eyes as deep as the ocean and a full head of hair that shone like spun gold in the dim light. Tali looked at his wife and newborn daughter, a sense of pride and wonder filling his heart. He leaned down to kiss Anna, then gently touched the baby's forehead. "Her name is Marie," Anna whispered, her voice filled with a love so profound it left no room for doubt. But then something peculiar happened. Marie did not cry. Not a single sound escaped her lips, not even a soft whimper. She looked up at her parents with an expression that was far too knowing for a newborn. Elara felt a sudden chill. A baby's first cry was more than a tradition. It was a rite of passage, an announcement to the spirits and ancestors that a new life had joined the living. Arara glanced at Anna's still distended belly. "The second child," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. "It still hasn't come." Confusion and worry clouded the room. Anna's labor had been extraordinary in its length, and now they had a child who did not cry and another who refused to be born. The joy of Marie's arrival was tempered by the realization that their ordeal was far from over. Anna clutched Marie to her chest, her mind racing. They had 60 days to produce the second child or face exile and worse. As she looked down at her beautiful daughter, an unsettling thought crept into her mind. Was Marie so serene and yet so unsettling, the harbinger of blessings or curses for their family and their village? Unbeknownst to them, outside the walls of the birthing chamber, the villagers were growing restless. The mysterious cries of unseen infants continued to haunt the nights, and now, with the birth of this strange child, the murmurs grew louder. Little did they know, the most extraordinary chapters of their story were yet to unfold. Anna and Marie remained in Ila's care for 7 more days, a period filled with both wonder and worry. Marie was unlike any newborn Arara had ever seen. She seemed aware, her gaze oddly focused, and yet she never let out even a single cry. Anna and Tali would often catch themselves staring at their baby girl, as if expecting her to suddenly reveal the secrets she seemed to hold. And then there was the matter of the second twin. Anna's belly remained swollen, a quiet reminder that their family was not yet complete. Despite various attempts from the midwives, massages, herbal remedies, and ancient incantations, the second child refused to make an appearance. As they crossed the threshold, Anna turned to Tali. "We must prepare ourselves for whatever comes next," she said softly, her voice tinged with an indescribable emotion. Tali nodded, holding Marie closely to his chest. "I stand by you now and always. We will face the future as a family." The night they returned home, the village was eerily quiet, as if holding its collective breath. Anna lay in bed, Marie nestled beside her, while Tali kept vigil. Unseen infants ceased their crying that night, leaving a heavy silence that spoke volumes. Though Anna and Tal did not know it, their return home marked the beginning of a series of events that would forever change the fate of their family and the entire village of Kalani. The countdown had begun, and with each passing day the stakes grew higher, both for the family and for a village teetering on the edge of profound change. As days turned into weeks, the silence that had settled over the village of Kalani grew tense and uneasy. It was as if the entire community had become a ticking time bomb set to explode at any moment. Murmurs grew into gossip, and gossip into outspoken concern. The mysterious nightly cries had stopped, but they had left an unsettling quiet in their wake. It was only a matter of time before another king, one ruling the entire kingdom, including Kanani, King Loma, decided to intervene. As the overall leader of Kalani and other neighboring villages, the villagers looked to him for guidance, for some kind of resolution to the unsettling mystery that had enveloped their lives. With grave concern furrowing his brow, King Loma summoned Anna and Tali to his palace. The royal chamber was grand, filled with intricate tapestries that told tales of Kalani's storied past. Yet Anna and Tali could barely appreciate the majesty around them. They were too focused on the somber figure seated before them. King Loma looked at them intently, his gaze lingering on Marie, who sat silently in Anna's arms. "You have 60 days," he began, his voice echoing in the stone chamber. "Yes, another 60 days for the second twin to be born. If that does not occur, you will be exiled from this village and your firstborn Marie will be sacrificed." The words landed like a hammer. Anna felt her heart plummet, a sense of despair washing over her. Tali clenched his fists, struggling to maintain his composure. The king continued, "There have been unsettling occurrences since Anna's pregnancy was announced. The community cannot live in perpetual fear and uncertainty. We must take action." Anna felt tears welling up in her eyes as she looked at Marie, her beautiful silent daughter. The thought of losing her was unbearable. "Your Majesty, we cannot control when the second child will be born. Please, you must understand," King Loma sighed. "I have my people to consider. Honor the well-being of Kanani is my responsibility." Tali stepped forward. "Your Majesty, if you grant us this time, we promise to leave peacefully should the second child not arrive. But please spare our daughter. She has done nothing wrong." The king looked at them for a long, agonizing moment. Finally, he nodded. "Very well. You have 60 days. But know this, if the child is not born within that time, exile awaits you both, and the fate of Marie will be out of my hands." As Anna and Tali left the palace, the weight of the king's decree hung heavy on their shoulders. 60 days, just 2 short months to hope for a miracle that would save their family from unthinkable tragedy. Each step they took felt like a descent into an uncertain future. As they returned to their home, the villagers watched them pass, their eyes filled with a mix of pity, fear, and suspicion. It was clear that the days ahead would be the most challenging they had ever faced, a trial that would either break them or forge them anew. 60 days came and went like a cruel swift gust of wind, each day intensifying the despair that clung to Anna and Tali. Despite their prayers, rituals, and appeals to the gods, the second child remained unborn, and their time had run out. They stood at the edge of the village, clutching each other tightly. The air was thick with tension as the villagers assembled to witness their departure. King Loma stepped forward, his eyes devoid of emotion. "The time has come. You are hereby banished from Kalani, never to return unless the second child is born." Tali began to speak, to make one final plea, but the king raised his hand to silence him. "The child Marie will be kept here. Her fate now lies in the hands of the gods and our village elders." 2 gods approached and gently but firmly took Marie from Anna's arms. Anna felt as if her soul were being ripped from her body. She looked down at Marie, her beautiful silent daughter, and kissed her forehead one last time. Marie's eyes locked onto Anna's, a deep, uncanny understanding reflecting back at her. As they were led away from the village, a low wail erupted from the crowd, a communal expression of sorrow, fear, and relief. The villagers' eyes were on them until they disappeared into the dense forest that marked the boundary of their former home. They walked in silence, each step a painful reminder of the life and the daughter they had left behind. Their hearts were heavy with an unbearable weight, the weight of being outcasts, the weight of uncertainty about their unborn child, and the weight of a future that had never looked more bleak. As the forest swallowed them, absorbing them into its labyrinthine depths, Anna broke down, her tears flowing freely. "What will become of us? What will become of Marie?" Tali pulled her close, his own eyes stinging with unshed tears. "We will find a way, Anna. We must believe that we will find a way." Yet, as they ventured deeper into the wilderness, with each step taking them further from their past lives and their beloved Marie, the shadow of doubt crept in, eclipsing even the faintest glimmer of hope. And so, they were exiled, left to wander through a wilderness that was as unforgiving as the fate that had been thrust upon them. As they disappeared into the labyrinth of trees and shadows, unbeknownst to them, back in the village, preparations had begun for the execution that was to claim their firstborn, Marie. As Anna and Tali ventured deeper into the forest, each moment seemed to stretch into an eternity. The wilderness was a dense maze of trees, their twisted branches like outstretched arms trying to pull them further into oblivion. The forest, however, was not just a place of exile, it was also a realm of ancient legends. Many spoke of spirits and gods that dwelled in its depths, forces that could either bring doom or salvation. They found a small clearing and decided to make camp. Tali gathered wood for a fire while Anna used their meager supplies to prepare a simple meal. As they ate in silence, their thoughts were consumed by the daughter they had been forced to leave behind and the unborn child that still remained a mystery. Anna's belly was a constant reminder of their incomplete family, its stillness weighing heavily on her soul. That night, as darkness swallowed the clearing, Tali couldn't sleep. He stared into the flickering flames of their campfire, pondering their grim circumstances. Anna lay beside him, her eyes closed but her mind alert, her hand instinctively cradling her belly. Suddenly a haunting cry echoed through the forest. It was not a cry of any animal they recognized, but a haunting sound that seemed almost human. They both sat up, eyes wide with terror and wonder. "Did you hear that?" Anna whispered, clutching Tali's arm. "I did," he replied, his eyes scanning the darkness around them. "It sounded like a baby's cry," Anna finished for him, her voice tinged with awe and desperation. Tali looked at her, his eyes meeting hers in a moment of shared realization. Could it be an omen, a sign from the gods, or perhaps their own child calling out to them? Anna wondered aloud, her eyes filling with tears. They listened intently, but the cry was not repeated. Instead, the forest returned to its heavy silence, as if holding its breath along with them. "We must keep going," Tali said finally, breaking the silence. "If there are answers to be found, then we must seek them deeper within." Anna nodded, her resolve strengthened by the mysterious event. "For Marie, for our unborn child, and for ourselves." As dawn broke, Anna and Tali packed their belongings and set out once more, guided by a newfound sense of purpose. The forest seemed to part for them now, as if urging them forward in their quest for answers. And so they walked, their hearts pounding with both fear and hope, completely unaware that back in the village of Kanani, the dreaded day had arrived, the day that had been set for Marie's execution. In the village of Kalani, a heavy air of solemnity hung over the square. The community had gathered around a hastily erected platform, eyes downcast, faces grim. King Loma stood to one side, a pained expression barely concealed by his regal composure. On the platform was a small cradle, and in it lay Marie, still silent, her eyes wide and uncomprehending. Elder Lona, a hunched figure in ceremonial robes, ascended the platform. Her voice trembled as she spoke the traditional words of sacrifice, invoking the gods and asking for their favor. The villagers listened in silence, many wiping away tears. Even those who had been loudest in their condemnation of Anna and Tali found little satisfaction in this grim spectacle. As Elder Lona raised her arms to signal the final act, a distant roll of thunder echoed through the sky. The crowd looked up in astonishment as dark clouds began to gather, obscuring the sun. A chilling wind swept through the square, followed by the first drops of rain that grew quickly into a torrential downpour, the likes of which hadn't been seen in Kalani for 3 long years. Then, Marie broke her first cry. It was as loud as if calling her twin to help her. Back in the forest, Anna felt a sudden sharp pain clutching her belly. She looked at Tali with wide eyes. "It's time," she gasped. Tali quickly helped her to the ground, shielding her as best he could from the rain that had also started to fall. In the forest, as Anna went into labor, the sky above them roared and flashed as if the gods themselves were watching. With one final agonizing push, Anna gave birth. Tali, his hands trembling, held up their second child, a boy, his cries joining the cacophony of the storm around them. "Mark," Anna whispered, her voice tinged with exhaustion and awe. "His name is Mark." At that very moment, in the village square, the heavens seemed to relent. The downpour turned into a light drizzle, then stopped altogether. Elder Lona lowered her arms, her eyes meeting King Loma's in bewilderment. The villagers, caught between relief and disbelief, looked up at the skies as if seeking an explanation for the miraculous events unfolding before them. As the rain subsided, Marie's cries filled the air, and Elder Lona, a mix of reverence and fear in her eyes, gently lifted the newborn from the cradle. The crowd, no longer able to contain their emotions, erupted into cheers. The square, once somber, became a scene of jubilation. King Loma, though stoic, could not hide the astonishment in his eyes. The gods, it seemed, had spoken. Back in the forest, Anna and Tali held their newborns close, their tears blending with the rain that still clung to the leaves above them. The storm had passed, leaving in its wake a sense of awe and wonder. As the couple made their way back to the village, they could feel the eyes of the forest upon them, as if acknowledging the extraordinary events that had unfolded within its depths. They returned to Kalani, not as outcasts, but as the bearers of a miracle that defied explanation. The story of the silent girl and the storm that saved her became a legend, passed down through generations in the village of Kalani. Anna, Tali, Marie and Mark were embraced by the community, their bond forever strengthened by the trials they had endured. As the years passed, Marie and Mark grew into remarkable individuals, each carrying a unique connection to the natural world. Marie, with her silent demeanor, seemed to understand the language of the wind, the rustle of leaves and the whispers of the river. Mark, born during a storm, developed an uncanny ability to predict changes in the weather, earning him the nickname Stormbringer among the villagers. The village of Kalani flourished under the watchful eyes of the twins, who became revered figures in their own right. Anna and Tali, once on the brink of exile, now stood as respected elders, guiding the community with wisdom and compassion. And so the tale of Anna, Tali, Marie and Mark became a living legend, a testament to the enduring power of love, resilience, and the inexplicable forces that connect us to the world around us. The village of Kalani, once divided by fear and uncertainty, became a harmonious community, bound together by the extraordinary events that had shaped their destiny. As for the forest that had witnessed it all, its ancient trees stood as silent sentinels, keepers of the secrets that intertwined the fates of the village and the family who had found redemption in the heart of the wilderness. The legend of Kalani lived on, a story whispered among the leaves and carried by the wind, a story of miracles, trials, and the enduring magic that dwells in the most unexpected places.